So South Africa lead 1-0 in the series so far. And what's nice about it is that we're going to Bloem again. So we have a familiar understanding of the conditions now. I think we are kind of used to it. We know what's going to offer. And we're going into the second ODI with a lot of confidence after clinching a win against England in the first ODI yesterday or on Friday. So this is the show where we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be getting into our preview show. But before we get going, before we get started, please, I would like you guys to do a couple of things. Please click subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell if you're new, and you'll get regular updates on when we go live. So please click that button right now. It's running and it's running and it doesn't want to stop. Okay, it's stopped right now. Okay, cool. So then also what I would like you guys to do is please download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. And what's going to be happening is we'll be doing a Women's World Cup edition for this month's issue. So please support it. Please support the ladies. The World Cup is in South Africa. Go to the games if you're in Cape Town, if you're in PE, if you're in Paul, etc. Please go and support the ladies as much as possible. Then, if you want to help us grow and promote South African cricket as well as Cricket Fanatics magazine, you need to support us on our Patreon account. The more patrons we have, the more exclusive content you guys will get on the Patreon account as well, which I'm going to be planning out very soon. I'm going to be trying to increase our patrons, etc., because we need to. And I'm also going to plan a content strategy on how we can give back to the guys that have become patrons. We're also going to very soon open up the membership site on this particular channel on YouTube so that you guys can join and also get exclusive content over there. So that's something I need to plan properly. I need to strategize so that I can give you guys the best value for your money in the end of the day. Also, what I would like you guys to do is like, comment, and share. And that's to get us into the YouTube algorithms and etc., so that our videos can be shared, etc. And also, what I'd like you guys to do is please be part of cricketfanaticsmag.com. This is our biggest platform, guys. This is where majority of people view our content. Go to cricketfanaticsmag.com. We have features, we have news stories. We don't do too much breaking news stories. We rather like to give our opinion on certain things. But we do have previews, we do have reviews, we do have match reviews, of course. We do have features, we do have videos. Everything is on the site. So please go ahead and go to cricketfanaticsmag.com. Today's comments and today's press conference reaction quotes, I'm going to be reading from this particular site so you guys can see what the layout looks like, etc. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. I'm looking forward to this one, guys. A very good evening. I never get very good afternoon. Sorry, I never get over that song. The more I listen to it, actually, I hope you guys are not getting irritated. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to change it up a little bit and make it a little bit more hip. I can change the theme song, but I really enjoy it and I like the way it sounds, etc. It's nice and neutral. But hello, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points in South African cricket, but specifically we're going to be talking about the second ODI between South Africa and England, which takes place in Bloem tomorrow at 10 a.m. Not a 1 o'clock start, guys, 10 a.m. So directly after the show, we will go live with our review. That's what we're going to be doing. So please stay tuned to that. Look here, guys, I don't normally do a show on a Saturday. So that's why we are so early today. So please subscribe and click the notification bell because I will be doing shows at random times if I do one on a Saturday. And also, when we go live after the game, it's not always directly after the match exactly. Sometimes we don't know when the match is going to end and when the match is going to finish, of course. So then in that particular occasion, you need to press the notification bell to know when we do go live on the channel. This is a panel show today, and I do have two special guests with me in Stuart, Judge, and Kelly as well. They'll be joining me a little bit later. But what I'm going to be doing on today's show to start off is to first start with a reaction piece of what was said between Rassie and Magala. The both press conferences are on the channel, but I thought that I'll read you guys the website article as well so that you guys can see what was said. So This is a piece by Avuyile, and he's a new writer that has joined the team. He's been doing excellent work with us, excellent content for Cricket Fanatics. So please go follow him on Twitter, etc. And also the people that are coming on the panelists are coming on the channel. Follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, etc. And give them a follow as well, because they also have great takes individually as well on their personal platforms in trying to promote South African cricket. Okay, so I'm going to read this article out to you guys so you can get an understanding of everything. The Proteas produced a comeback for the ages to defeat England by 27 runs in the first of three ODI matches at the Mangong Oval in Bloemfontein on Friday. I always butcher that name, guys. Please teach me how to say it properly. Entering the match with pressure mounting on the side, having won just 6 out of 15 matches, the South Africans slowly showed grit and fight as they bowled out England out for 271 runs after posting 298 for 7 in their first innings. The standout players for the home side was Asanda Magala and Rassie van der Dussen, with both players producing prolific numbers with ball and bat. Van der Dussen, who scored 111 runs in 117 balls with a strike rate of 94.87, said beating England would give the side a confidence boost as they look to take one match at a time. Whenever you beat England, I think it gives you a great confidence. Obviously, they're world champions, so to beat them is always a feather in our cap as a team, he said. We're not thinking about the qualification. If need to, if we need to go qualify, we'll qualify. If we end up winning 2 or 3 more games out of the matches left, then that's also okay. We're taking it game by game. I like that attitude. I like that approach. Take it game by game, similarly to Manchester United, take it game by game and rather worry about winning each individual match than stressing about the future that you can't control. With batters laying the foundation, it was up to the Proteas' bowling attack to try and restrict the English batting lineup, a task that proved difficult at first. Skipper Temba Bavuma then turned to Sasanda Magala, who claimed 3 wickets and conceded just 46 runs in his 9 overs, with an economy rate of 5.11. Excellent figures to claim the Man of the Match award. It's actually Play of the Match award. I should actually change that. He expressed how excited he was to bowl against England and how they managed to defend their total. I was nervous because of how England plays, their style and their brand, but I was also excited and just wanted to let that first ball go. And then everything will be fine, Magala said. I like that attitude, man. Flipping out. We were lucky enough to not allow them to get along a lot of big partnerships, especially after the first one. I think getting wickets at crucial times helped us maintain momentum and give us confidence that we could defend the score. The currency was wickets, and we kept getting a lot of them. He added, "At the end of the day, when I play cricket, I just want to contribute as much as I can towards the team. So if I played a hand in that, I'm happy." So we put the press conference videos as well in the piece, and also this particular preview for the game. So please go and support us on cricketfanaticsmag.com as well, and go read our content and share it with your friends and family. Okay, I have to read out a super chat. Thank you so much, Neil Govender. For me, the most exciting thing about our cricket is the world's fastest bowler. Our bowling attack should be built around Anik Nokia. All we need now, quality left armour, a leggy, and a fast bowler. Excellent comment over there. Thank you, Neil Govender, for your super chat. We got Lawrence in the comments saying, "I think the only question will be whether to go in with 1 or 2 spinners tomorrow, and who Kesha replaces. Parnell or KG is my picks to get some rest if Kesh does come in." I agree with you there, brother. Matteo de Castro, I reckon Stubbs, Brevis, and Rickerton should be in the squad at least. Me too, but no, we explained on a previous show why they picked the squad that they did. First and foremost, Rob's not in the country. Second and foremost, also they are central contracted players that are on contracts. They can't just drop players that have contracts, otherwise there'll be a big boo-ha with regards to that, to Saka, etc., and complaints. So they need to play the contracted players until the end of their contract, which is in the end of the season. Kelly says, Governor, we have plenty of fast bowlers and a good number of promising lefties, including experienced Parnell and young Marco Janssen. Developing world-class batsmen is, in my opinion, a bigger concern. Um, uh, Kani saying Khalid, Ethan Bosch, Gutsia should be considered for selection. Okay, let's get straight into the panel discussion. Let's bring on Kelly. Let's bring on Stuart. Welcome to the show, people. How are you guys doing on this
Hi.
Saturday afternoon?
Got me on load shedding.
Oh, yeah, I can't miss you on load shedding. Doesn't matter what
Always,
time.
always. Every time. Last night as well. So
Yeah,
like
crazy.
I have to sit where there's some light. It was like
Yeah.
completely dark.
Stuart, how you doing, brother?
No, I'm good, thanks. And you? I actually haven't spoken to you in a while. I was going to ask
Yeah.
how you feeling after the United Arsenal game.
After the United Arsenal game, okay. First and foremost, I thought that they didn't check the VAR for Zevchenko for the last cross, which I felt was
Okay.
offside. Nketiah was onside clearly, but they only checked Nketiah. They didn't check Zevchenko, which I didn't like. But we should have played better. I think we missed Casemiro, so I'm not so upset about it because we're still in the top four race. I want to just see Man United like grow and develop, etc. As we go along. Uh, and I didn't get your thoughts on the game yesterday. Let's start off there. What is your thoughts on the game? I mean, it was incredible from a fan perspective, but what did you feel watching that game?
I got to be honest with you. I missed like a little bit of the bowling innings. I was a lot happier with how we batted. I thought we like you could see guys like Timber put in a lot of work, especially with him not being in the SA20. I thought his adjustments, his stances made quite a nice difference. He looks a lot more balanced when he's batting. I thought Rassi obviously played quite well. I thought Quinton was playing quite well at the start. So I just thought he got a good ball from Curran and was a bit unlucky. Um, yeah, Klaassen, he got a good start. I thought it was just a good ball again from Rashid, and he just swept. I don't know, it was a bit not even nothing shot, but I was just shocked that he like he's going for the sweep there, but it was a good ball. And yeah, overall, I was quite happy with the bowling. I was very happy with Nokia and Magala. I'm just a bit worried about Shamsi at the moment, if I'm honest with you. But
Mhm.
all in all, very positive.
Okay, so the start of this conversation, because me and Kelly had a massive debate on yesterday's channel, etc. We went over everything with regards to the game, and all's
We
good
tried,
in the
but
hood.
I think we got derailed, actually.
Yeah, yeah, we did. So we're gonna try to make up for it today. So I'm gonna start this conversation with a particular criticism that I have, and I'm gonna ask you guys' opinion on this. And I'm gonna start with Kelly, of course. Um, I think we need to bat better. That's obvious, but I'll
Mhm.
tell you in what areas. So, and this is going to be very controversial, I feel, because I'm going to be criticizing the two guys that got the runs. Okay, so just bear with me over here. So, with Rassi's perspective, I think Rassi played an excellent knock. That 100. I can't remember exactly the score, but that ton was excellent. My concern was that strike rate
Mhm.
that he ended with. What I would like to see from Rassi in the future, for example, is when he gets to like the 80 run mark and he's setting himself in, rather try and go for it to push us and accelerate us forward quicker so that we can get to that 300 or 320 mark a lot quicker, so that when someone like David Miller comes in or another batter comes in, they can just accelerate and go forward. If we want to play this attacking brand of cricket. Now, I do understand from a player's perspective, you want to get that ton. So perhaps maybe take it to that ton and then kick on. But sometimes Rassi bats so slowly that by the time he gets to that 100, we're getting into like the 49th over or maybe the 47th or 46th over. And then you run out of overs to try and kick on and try to really push and get that score. Another criticism would be for David Miller. I think he himself would criticize himself for his performance. We saw his frustration that he couldn't play Adil Rashid.
Mhm.
He's struggling to get the ball off the square and try to attack. It wasn't a genuine, normal David Miller innings that we could expect. I mean, I don't expect him to strike 150 on this pitch, but at least 110 or a little bit or 100 strike rate at least when it comes to this conditions and the way they had to play. So, Kelly, what's your thoughts on that? And my slight criticism. We will get to the rest of the batters
I
later on in the
don't
show.
think it's actually controversial because before the match, I said that the middle overs were going to be a problem because there is an issue with strike rotation with our middle order batsmen. They do not look for singles as often as they should. I mean, they should be looking to score every ball. Even if you can't hit the ball away, just look to get the single because people have one idea of how to finish a game and, how to get a good strike rate. And they think that's hitting the ball out of the ground. And it's not. It's pushing for 2s and 3s. It's running the first one hard. It's getting the quick singles. It's making sure you don't waste deliveries and let bowlers settle. And they're not putting bowlers like Adil Rashid under pressure enough. And when he's under pressure, he doesn't bowl well. He's not a bowler that I rate particularly highly, but he bowled well yesterday because they let him settle. They played him too casually. If you can't get him, if you can't hit him for 6, if you can't hit him for 4, get the 1s, get the 2s, get the 3s. You're playing at a very big ground. Look for the gaps. There are going to be huge gaps. This is something like I've seen some young batsmen do, like Jordan Hammond looks around for the gap before every single ball. And he looks to score before he actually plays a defensive shot. And even though he isn't a 150 strike rate player, he still bats at like a good strike rate because he keeps himself ticking. He doesn't let himself get bogged down. Doesn't put the other batsmen under pressure. And then that's what people like David Miller and Heinrich Klaasen feel they should play big shots and then they get out. Because the other batsmen have left them with too little time and not enough of a platform, and you need the runs quickly. And now you don't have the luxury to just push for the 2s or the 3s and still get the 300. I mean, they could have been in a much better position. They didn't have to finish by hitting 4s if they couldn't. They could have just stayed in, got a 120 strike rate, 130 strike rate by taking the singles where they were. And they weren't looking for them. They were playing the wrong shots. You play the situation in front of you, and if it's not working out for you, you change your approach. If it's failing, you can't keep going. I mean, like if David Miller's approach versus Rashid wasn't working to begin with, it's not going to work later. Change it. That's the problem I have. And I identified this. That's why I said maybe move a batsman like Wayne Parnell up the order instead, because he's not really a big hitter, but he's a good reader of the game, and he's pretty good between the wickets, and he could probably keep a guy like Rassie or Klaasen on their toes. It's just something to mix it up, like a strike rotation version of Dwayne Pretorius. Not a pinch hitter, just somebody to keep things ticking, and then to leave the finishing for later. Because he's not someone who can come in and hit off the first ball usually. So that's just an idea. Because when he's playing, we need to find a way to use him usefully. Because he can bat. He's just not a power player.
Stuart, your thoughts? I mean, we saw Lawrence's comment over here. He said that I get the Rassie criticism, but it isn't only a Rassie problem, which I agree with. For me, as a batting lineup, generally goes through a lull period between the 20 and 45. We only really go in the last 5. Actually, Rassie mentioned this in his press conference. He said something about that period that they got bogged down. Stuart, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you guys are saying, especially about.
You don't have to.
No. Yeah. I also think we've got to give Joss Butler a bit of credits for his field placings as well, with Adil Rashid to David Miller. I thought the short mid wickets, and I think he had a short cover in at a stage or something like that, was really good, and the ball was obviously turning in quite a bit. So yeah, I definitely think that's also a factor that we have to acknowledge. But for me, I feel like with our selection, and I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom all the time, but I feel like we're keeping on selecting players who get slow starts and then they try and make it up and they put pressure on themselves at the back of the innings. Like for me, Reza and Janeman Milan are pretty similar in terms of batting style. Like I'd like to see guys who can maybe accelerate a little bit earlier. And I'm not necessarily saying like, hit boundaries out of, the stadium or whatever, but I just feel like they need to get people in who can play aggressively in the middle overs and start transferring pressure, because I felt like yesterday, the minute de Kock got out and then Markram got out quite soon after, I think, when he hit the ball to cover, I felt like, there's a window there where England actually had a lot of pressure on our batters, and you could tell how quickly that third 50 came. I think the first two 50s were like 50 balls or something like that, and the third and fourth was like 60 or something like that. So we really need to figure out how we can play better in the middle overs of one days. I feel like spin occasionally has been a bit of an issue, so I feel like I'm not sure Stubbs could play spin quite well. Also feel like, I don't know, maybe, I know Kelly and I were discussing this last night, but I really want Brevis in the team, in my opinion, not necessarily as a starter, but I feel like he'd be a good, almost like a spare batter, because I feel like he'd learn a hell of a lot from these experienced guys like De Kock and Miller. And yeah, I'd also like to see a Jordan Hammond in the team as well. So yeah.
Yeah, my take on Deerwoud is a little bit different when it comes to different formats. So when it comes to T20, I feel that in T20 you can take that risk with a number 3 batter, because they normally are those type of players that come off now and again. I mean, Sky doesn't score 50s consecutively every single series. He does sometimes come in a row and go on a run. But generally speaking, those are your players that you want to take that risk with. And I think that if we look at it, I mean, I think he'll do better than what Riley Rousseau is currently doing for us. I mean, Riley Rousseau gets a duck, goes out, and then you might as well test it, try it with a youngster.
Yeah.
And then bring like someone like a Faf in there for experience, maybe at the top of the order, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if a lot of people are. And then surround Deerwoud with experienced guys that have been there. I mean, our T20 lineup is pretty experienced anyway. So I think that would do well for him in the T20 format. And also, he's been a T20 format's different when you compare domestic to the step up to international cricket, because there is international leagues around the world that have the best players in the world in them. SA20, IPL, Big Bash, CPL. Some of the best T20 players from around the world are in those leagues. Even the T20 Blast itself in England, there are a couple of world-class, great T20 players that Deerwoud would play against if he plays in those leagues. Now, our domestic T20 competition isn't on the same level, but at least those type of leagues are. And Deerwoud is currently playing in those leagues, so he is competing against the best in the world. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have technical flaws. That doesn't mean that he still has a lot to learn. That doesn't mean but that also doesn't mean that he doesn't have the right mentality and winning mentality to try and take forward and a good head on his shoulders. So I look at everything, and I think that step up is a little bit smaller than our domestic level One Day Cup, and the step up from there to international cricket, and the step up from 4-day cricket to Test cricket. So that's why I think he barely played list day cricket. I think he needs a little bit more time to maybe settle in and have a couple of seasons, because I think in 1-day cricket and Test and 4-day cricket, you need to show consistency over a couple of seasons. That's very important, because you need to kind of show that, okay, I can convert or I can score on an average of 50 plus, etc. Whereas in T20, you can. I don't really look at averages as much, because it can really come off at any time, on the particular day. When it comes to certain positions, I have a different approach when it comes to openers, and I have a different approach when it comes to 3s and 6s. 4s and 5 need to be consistent for me, and I think opening partnership needs to be consistent for me. That's just my opinion. Kelly, you want to take it away?
Yeah, look, I agree with that. Like, I don't think Brevis is anywhere near ready for ODIs, because his game awareness isn't there. And that's natural. He's 19 years old. People need to remember that. And it's not only experience he'll learn from. There's one instance I was talking about where he struggles to play on the offside, and he really struggles to play Sasanda Makala, and Sunrise has exploited it in a T20. And if he can't get the ball away again, like David Miller struggled against spin, he doesn't run. He doesn't rotate the strike. Now, if you turn it around and you look at someone like Tristan Stubbs, almost inevitably gets off the strike first ball, every ball. In the innings that he finished in the same game against MI Cape Town, it wasn't through boundaries that he made most of his runs. It was rotating the strike. That's another form of finishing. And it's also game awareness. He played the situation. And that's what Deerwoud could learn. But he'd also learn it in a situation like an SAA game with people like Jordan Hammond and Tristan Stubbs, because they're all different. They all have different experiences. And I think playing more SAA and emerging games could also help them.
Yeah.
because they can play with each other, learn from each other. They've all got different strengths. I think naturally Derwell probably has more deficiencies than the other two, but he's only 19. He'll work those out quickly. Like, I mean, Stubbs improved dramatically with his offside play in less than a year through just having some exposure to international cricket. I mean, that first shot that he hits off Nisham for the catch a million, the second guy, that cover drive for 6. I mean, those were shots he wasn't playing in the beginning of the year. So, look, the same thing can happen with Derwald. But I mean, he could get just as much experience if we play more SAA games. And I think that's something we also need to consider. Guys like, instead of just throwing guys like Hammer, Stubbs, Brevis, even Rudolfsson, Richards, Evan Jones, Lisa Sipamla has actually been showing a lot of BMT in one-day cricket lately. Instead of throwing them straight into international cricket, we should reintroduce those emerging South Africa tours that used to take place against Australia in the off-season in the winters, and reintroduce more SAA games. Because playing together with guys that you're going to end up playing with for South Africa is going to be hugely beneficial for them as a combination.
You know, another thing I want to mention over there and add into this is that you must also remember that in South African cricket, when it comes to school cricket, the players play T20 cricket and one-day cricket before they play like four-day cricket, for example. Actually, they are already getting white ball cricket under their belt when they come through the system. And there's T20 competitions. There are a lot of players that focus on actually being great T20 competition because they know the futures are there. So our players are obviously getting a lot more exposed to that. So that's why I'm a bit reluctant when it comes to certain players getting quickly put into test teams, for example, or into four-day games because they don't play. They don't have that experience of playing a lot of four-day games. So that's another thing that I think we should add into the mix over here when we're thinking about that. Is there anything else you want to say on that, Stuart, before I move on?
Yeah, I just think I agree with what you guys are saying. Like I went when I saw him play against the Lions, he looked quite vulnerable against fast bowling. And I think, it's just the fan in me. Like I've seen him hit guys out the park in the SA20 and I'd be like, put this guy in because he will smash like the spinners out the park. But yeah, maybe it's just me being a bit too eager. My only thing is with the SAA thing is, I don't know, we know where there's issues in the budgets and stuff like that for the SAA tours. So I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. And, as Lorenzo said in the chat, if he's playing so many T20 leagues around the world, how's he going to get selected for these tours as well? He needs to get experience in the longer formats, in my opinion, as well. So, yeah. So I just saw Katie's comments. Yeah, so that's just the way that I thought of it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move on from Deerwald because I really want to get into the crux of this preview.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use a comment from Lorenzo because he's right about this. I think the Markram issue in ODIs needs to be discussed. So I'm gonna start. When it comes to Aiden Markram, I mean, you guys know that I'm a bit biased and I'm a big fan of his. But I'm trying to think of balance when it comes to this because currently in the squad that we do have, there isn't really a batter that is bowling as well. That's where it comes. That's where players that are all rounders that can also spin the ball are very important. Your Vian Libbers, your George Linders, your in the future maybe the Bryce Parsons of this world that can bat in the like 5-6 roles, etc., and also bowl and do well there too. So Senator Mutasami is another person we don't talk enough about. I think his batting first class average, his list A average in cricket is ridiculous. When it comes to cricket in South Africa, in domestic cricket at least. So when it comes to Markram at the moment within the squad that we have, I think they need to persist with him and try to get him into that form. I think he's one innings away from really turning the corner, 100 away. Because every single time he gets close, he hasn't really hit that 100 yet for South Africa. He gets to 94, he gets to 60, or he gets to 50 or 80. He never has actually kicked on and scored a big century. And I think when he does do that, I think he'll turn the corner and I think you'll get that monkey off his back. But at this moment in time, I feel the balance of having him for extra couple of overs in between is so important. I'm going to start with Kelly over here and then move on to Stuart with regards to Aiden as well.
Now, I think Aiden's never really gotten the monkey off his bats in the middle order in tests. He did as an opener, and I keep wishing that he was back up there. I think he's hinted before that might be where he'd want to return to eventually, because we've got two openers who are well, they're over 30. They're not going to be there for a long time. They're not in form. The team doesn't have much cohesion in it, and I don't think Aiden does well in an environment that isn't stable. He's not the youngest player in the world, but he's a very like players like Keshav and Aiden are very sort of, your wholesome type. If they have the right coach, and the right team environment, they're going to produce the goods for you, I reckon. They very, very much need coaches that support them. There are quite a few players like that. So, I think Stubbs is another one who also will produce in the right environment. And this is why I think Keshav has been struggling so much with DSG. And I think this is why Aiden is succeeding a lot with the bowling, especially. Even if he doesn't bat a good innings for SEC, he'll come on and bowl and take 2 wickets. He's enjoying his crickets. And then he does better. It doesn't mean he's making 100 at 4, but he's always contributing. And his captaincy has been excellent. And I think that I think Shuku might be able to get the best out of Aiden, because he's a very sort of a simple cricketer. He's not hard to sort of communicate with and get the best out of. I think he just wants, to be there and play cricket and focus on cricket rather than have, sort of a internal strife and, X versus Y arguments and tension, controversy. I don't think he does well with it. I also don't think that he was necessarily guided properly as a young player. I think he missed out. I think he got into the squad when it was a bit clicky. The environment probably wasn't the best, and he eventually flourished. But I just think as a young player, he wasn't managed properly, and now we're suffering for it, and he's suffering for it. And we need to give him the right environment to actually succeed, because he's that good of a player. We can't abandon him. I mean,
to add to what Kelly said there, I was at that series when they threw him in the deep end against India and made him captain. He was 21, 22 years old. Faf wasn't available. Some of our top players weren't available. And they gave Aiden the captaincy and told him to lead out the side against the number 1 team in the world. And we played 6 ODIs against him and we got completely thrashed. And Aiden, yes, he batted well in one game, got the 66, I think it was. And then afterwards, he just struggled. And I think that set off his ODI career on the wrong foot. And I also think that our ODI team has been very disrupted. This group of players, our best ODI 11 or squad, hasn't played many games together as a unit. Actually, we've kind of used the ODIs as a way to meet transformation targets and also to try and almost blood in new talent. We wouldn't really take in the ODIs as seriously as a T20s because we had 2 back-to-back T20 World Cups, which is something that never really happened in the history of cricket, really. So I think that's what happened. They prioritized T20 and Test cricket, and they kind of let ODI be the place where a lot of guys were blooded in. Stuart, your thoughts on Markram? I mean, do you back him? Because I do know for a fact that Shukri Khalid is a big fan of Markram too. Whenever I was in the stands with him, and I saw and Aiden was playing whatever, you'd make remarks about it, and he was a fan back then. So I'm sure he's still a fan of him as a coach right now.
Yeah, so for me, I know I keep saying I completely agree, but it's a bit hard to disagree with what you guys are saying. I don't really get this Markram at 4 thing. T20s, I can see why he's batting there. He's done well there. and he plays spin quite well. But I feel like in one days and tests, he has to open. And I feel like you'll see him dominate in the power play if he comes in to open for the Proteas. And I feel like we've seen him do it with the Titans, and I think it was a One Day Cup final a few years ago, I think, where they played the Warriors. He hit that 150. He's batted his best when he's opening. And for me, I feel like he's a long-term option who can open, because if you think about it, guys like Quinton, even Temba, a lot of the openers that we've got in the one-day team are now in their 30s. And yes, Aiden's 28, but I feel like he offers you a lot with, the power play, and he can also offer you a bowling option, as we've seen in the SA20. And also from a leadership perspective, I think I'm a huge fan of his. I just feel like he needs to get a bit of role clarity and what is actually expected of him, if I'm honest with you. Because, and I think, I can't remember who said it in the chat zone earlier, but it was something along the lines of, he's probably going to be the next captain of the country. And there's not really anyone that I can think of off the top of my head that I'd replace Aiden with at this point in time. So I feel like he just needs an extended run in the team. And as you were saying, he's just one knock away from getting back into form and, silencing the doubters.
Mm-hmm. My take on this one is Quinton de Kock. That's always my issue. I want to try and get the best out of Quinton de Kock, because when he's destructive, he takes us into different sorts of areas, that world-class areas in the game, or he'll take us out of trouble, or he'll put us in a great position. And the best way for me is Temba, because Temba kind of keeps him glued in, focused, etc. Because he loses and he sometimes drifts in games and he loses concentration. We know that's his personality. I think that's why he should be wicketkeeper as well, because if he was in the field, he'll probably be scratching his nails or looking somewhere else and maybe miss a catch or something. So I'm worried about those type of things. I don't think Aiden has the authority over Quinton in a way that he can really tell Quinton. I don't think anybody can tell Quinton except Temba. I think Quinton respects Temba. I watched press conferences on this channel. There's press conferences of Quinton talking about how important Temba is to him as a partnership. I think I asked him that in the press conference, and he answered very well. He said, Temba makes me calm, Temba. And it's the same situation with Hashim Amla. Look at Quinton with Hashim when they opened. Phenomenal partnerships. They were excellent. They were probably the best partnership that South Africa's ever had in cricket.
Yeah.
And when AB. So yeah, Kelly, do you want to add to that?
It's Quinny doesn't do well with quiet partners. I mean, Riley Rousseau and Reza Hendricks are silent when they bat together. I mean, I watched them bat together so many times for the Knights when they first started out. They're brilliant partnership as young players. They bat so well together. I could bat them together as openers and they play well, but they don't communicate with words, and Quinton needs words. He's not going to hype himself up. He needs somebody to keep him focused. I mean, he's going to drift after 3 balls. Like Timber's probably the one, the type of player who's going to make him feel like he can get on top of the bowling attack, hype him up. He's the type of person who'd sort of be like, no, you've got this. You can get on top of this bowler. You can do X, Y, Z. We're going to get through this power play. We're going to score runs. We're going to, about 6 overs we'll be here. He just keeps reminding him. And Timber's also a very active batsman in the opening partnership. Usually he wants to run a lot. He's a great fielder and he's quick. And rotating the strike a lot means Timber is keeping Quinton awake. There's no village running like he was doing when he was batting with Reza in England, which was a disaster. He had a disastrous time in the T20s with Reza and Rassie. I mean, not Rassie, Reza and Riley. Because Riley and Reza are both quiet people. It's not their fault. It's just the fact that you need to work out your combinations. And Quinton's going to need someone to keep reminding him what he has to do. Even in the press conference, he doesn't remember what he did. So he's just that type of player. I mean, I have an occasional problem with Quinton because sometimes I don't know if Quinton is batting for the Proteas or if Quinton is batting for Quinton. Sometimes he looks like he just doesn't feel like he wants to be there. But he actually has a better attitude when he's batting with Timber. Their partnership was probably the more dynamic I've seen in ODIs or even in T20s. Whereas like that opening partnership was probably the most dynamic, as in communication between players. It wasn't like him going wild against Zimbabwe where he did everything himself. They communicated well and they worked together. And that was important. And that's what was missing with other combinations. That's why, as much as Temba could fit into a middle order as well and keep the strike rotating, he's really important to Quinton. And Quinton's world class, even though sometimes I have my doubts because he decides when he wants to show up.
Stuart?
Yeah, I was just listening to what you're saying, and I was kind of like, I agree with what you're saying, because out of all the opening partners that Quinton's had, he does look the most comfortable with Timber. But I was thinking maybe, and I'm not sure if he's ever done this, so please don't like shoot the net or like, crucify me for saying this. But I was thinking, why don't they could move Quinton de Kock down to 3, if that makes sense. And then you could open with, let's say, Timber and Markram. Yes, they're the same batters. But then let's say if one of them gets out early, you've got someone who can face a new ball, and Quinton can also accelerate and get the boundary. And then it also gives, like in the middle overs, it solves that problem a little bit. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure if that is a viable solution, but I thought of it almost as like a short-term sort of thing, because I don't know how long Quinton's actually going to play for the Proteas at this point. So I think maybe moving into 3 could be a solution, but
I just want to talk about this. You can disagree. It's obviously your opinion. He says that the national team picking someone to open with Quinton de Kock to bring the best out of him is nonsense. Okay, so this is my view on this. Teams do pick the best opening partnership based on who are the most compatible. If you go look at the Paul Royals in the SA20, I know it's a different format, but the Butler Jason Roy partnership was not working. So what did they do? They put him down the order. I think Jason down the order, or either Butler down the order. I think Butler down the order, and they brought in Vian Libber to open. And all of a sudden, things changed in the top order. They complemented each other better. They started scoring some good runs together. People do shift things around compared to who's going to bring out the best in the other player. I mean, those things happen many times in cricket. I've seen it in many teams where people will do that. If the opening partnership is not working, they tweak something. They'll look at what is the reason why, and they'll try to tweak it accordingly. So yes, maybe not specifically picking someone based on what someone else gets, but combos are very important at the top of the order. It's very important that you have a good partnership, not just pick 2 individuals that can just do their own little thing on the field, because you need to be able to bat in the power play, run between the wickets, run hard, understandings, all of those type of things. We don't want to see run outs and all of these weird things happening in cricket.
Which we did see when Quinton was batting with other people, because he is drifting. And the thing is, you want to maximize the potential of every player that you have. We're not saying pick someone who's substandard. All of those players have the ability to bat well at international level, but you can't just go and look at averages. Take your best 6 batsmen in terms of your list of averages over the last few years and put them in the team and expect that to gel. It's not how it works. Some of them are not going to bat well together. Sometimes it's going to be a disaster. Look how important test match opening partnerships have been regarded over the years. I mean, it's been a huge debate over who has the best opening partnerships. Smith and Gibbs, and then they also had Hayden and Langer and Desmond Haynes and Conor Rose is called Greenwich
So you're going far back.
No, but I'm trying to think of all the names. When I'm thinking about it, it escapes me. But the fact of the matter is, opening partnerships are actually vital. It's the same as bowling combos. You
I
need to
agree
have
with you,
a
man.
bowling attack with variety. Look what happened when Magala and Nokia came on. They did different things. They complemented each other as well. I mean, you didn't have two bowlers doing the same thing at opposite ends. You had different threats coming at you the entire time. And I mean, that's partly good captaincy and also good planning by the bowlers, because especially Susanna Magala constantly talks to his captain. He is a very clever bowler. He's one of those also, both of them are all surface bowlers. They don't need conditions to help them, but they also are in constant communication with Temba. And from that point onwards, I think Temba's captaincy was particularly good as well. And things like chemistry in a team are so important. At even in the middle order, you need chemistry. That's why in the T20s, the SA middle order averaged 40 together. You need to be able to bat together. You need to know which one is going to take, most of the strike. In the game where Tristan Stubbs scored that 70-odd against England, he came in with David Miller, and all of a sudden David Miller knew, no, I'm going to give the kid the strike. Yi took the senior role. It's about combos. You need to be able to communicate in the middle. You need to know, which one of you is going to do what. And you need to trust each other.
And
the
I
trust
think
is...
Sorry. We're born on the same day, so... You found it out yesterday.
I'm 1 year older, but yeah. No, I just think the trust is also important, and I think when he trusts Temba. Temba's the type of person who probably brings it out of him, just sort of, because I think he's the type of player who thrive on being hyped up, being told, you've got this, you can do this. And Temba seems like very much that type of captain. He's never quiet. It's something that Aiden also does, but more with body language.
Yeah. I mean, I saw how he struggled with Janam and Malan at the Blitz. But when he went to Mumbai Indians with Rohit Sharma, it was a different story. And when you look at the likes of Hashim Amla that he batted with, he was very calm and collected when he's batting with a calm and collected person at the other end. That's not panicking and getting like, oh flip, we need to score runs here, and someone that's out of form. You know what I mean? That's the worst thing that you can do to Quinton, is put someone that's not in form with him at the top of the order, that's struggling for form. But I think that in batting lineups, etc., the way I structure it, for a lack of a better description for people that maybe don't know much about cricket, maybe, is that I look at the opening pair as a unit. Then I see my 3 as my X factor player. I see my 4 and 5 as a partnership as a unit, and I see my 6 as an X factor player. And then you have your all rounders, etc., that will come in, and then your bowling partnerships as it go down. But that's how I see it going forward. Okay, guys, let's move on from this, and I want to get into our 11s, because a lot of people are asking me about different players here who I want to see in. So I'm going to start with you, Stuart, now. I'm going to let you go first. This time around, name your 11 that you'd like to see tomorrow. Do you keep things the same? What would you change, etc.?
Okay. So I'd keep the top 6 the same, if I'm honest with you. I felt like there were a few unlucky dismissals here and there. So I think I'd like to see guys like Klaasen and Markram and, obviously De Kock will get another go because it's a combo, but I think they need an extended run. I think Parnell should stay in the team. My thing is that I feel like Shamsi was a bit expensive yesterday, so I'd bring in Kesh for Shamsi, if I'm honest with you, and then put Markram as the second spinner, but give him like a 5-over spell and see how it goes from there. And then, I know KG did bowl well last night, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I'd probably bring Lungi in for KG just because of, Lungi has a good slow ball. and the wicket was looking quite flat. And when you saw Curran bowl yesterday with the slower balls, it obviously was quite effective. So that's the way that I'd go.
Cool. Kelly, your 11?
It's actually almost identical. I'm sort of debating the spin topic, but look, because you can never underestimate the power of a wrist spinner. We don't have many, and on his day, Shamsi can be destructive. And you don't know when he's going to have that day. And but then again, I think if Kesh plays, we may see a different Kesh to the Kesh we've been seeing in Test Squad and the DSG. So I'm tempted. I'm sort of on the fence about those two. I want Marco Jansen to play. I think his bounce and height would add something. Parnell's not getting much swing, and to be honest, that we've got already. If we add Lungi for KG, which I agree with, I think KG needs a rest, and we missed Lungi's cutters last night. I think
100%.
we have enough death bowlers that we won't need Parnell at the death, hopefully, and Jansen can come in. I'd be very there's always a temptation to play two spinners, but I don't think our batting lineup can take that. Because if we play Braze and Lungi, then the 10 and 11 can't bat already. It's a flat pitch and they shouldn't get there. So there's no excuse. But yeah, I think with Keshav might actually prove his doubts is wrong if he's playing in the right environment. He's a great asset to South African cricket, and people underestimate that. Because he's also adding more experience in the field, but that Shamsi doesn't quite. He's not as experienced as Kesh. He's also not a leader. And then if you add Kesh to the team, you've got another leader in the field.
And let's be honest, athlete-wise, he's not as big as an athlete as.
Yeah, he's a much better batter as well, but hopefully he's not going to get to bat. I'm not going to pick it on that flatter pitch. I expect the top six to deliver. If they don't, they're to blame, not the batsmen. I'm going to pick the bowlers because they can bowl. Full stop. Jansen, I think, has been improving immensely game by game, and he needs more game time. I think he really does need to play, and he offers something completely different to Parnell, as well as also being a left armer. So we're not losing that variation if we change it up. We could play them both, but I don't think that having Lungi and then Wayan is a bit. You're just getting a left arm version of what Lungi's going to bowl. Really, to be honest, because neither of them are going to offer that bounce, and neither of them are going to offer the express pace, and Lungi can do the job at the death as well. And people underestimate him. He's always the first to get dropped. But I Lungi stand for days, so I'm biased. I just think that he's underrated by so many people. And every time he's been injured or been dropped, that he comes back with an extra weapon in his arsenal, and he's just 100% bowler. I like him as a cricketer. I think he's playing for the right reasons. He'll give you his all, and even if he has a bad first spell, he'll come back with a good second.
Okay, so I'm going to go give mine. My 11 is going to be very much dependent on the fact of conditions. So if it does spin, then I'm taking KG out and I'm bringing in Keshav, because I think that on a 10 o'clock game wicket, I must also take that into consideration. You're not playing under lights later on, so whoever bowls first is going to have a harder time on this particular wicket. And I think even if you bowl second, you're still going to have a harder time on this wicket, because we're not playing necessarily under lights for the entire game. So it's going to be quite tough in that heat in Bloemfontein on a flat track. That's just going to deteriorate as the day goes along, because the covers are coming off already at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So that sun's going to bake on the pitch, and it's going to make it a lot slower. Might even bring some spinning to the occasion with that as well, with some cracks. So it's between KG, it's based on conditions completely. But I'll also want to take out Wayne Parnell, because I think Wayne Parnell's best asset is his swing bowling. We could see yesterday that he was trying to find swing and it wasn't working. He was bowling too and they were hitting him to the boundary and then finding it very easy to score off him in that power play. So for me personally, I think that those shorter deliveries that trap you in the crease, those cutters from Marco Jansen, I'll rather take a risk with a younger guy now today that's a better batter of the two at 7. So those are my 2 changes that I'll make within the team. I think it's either Lungi in for KG, because I think KG on this wicket, he doesn't have the variations that Lungi has. So him running in all day here to just tie himself in the middle on a pitch that's not going to give him any assistance, I think that might be a little bit risky with regards to that. You might as well rest him in playing him in the last game. That is also a must-win game. So I'll rest him in Bloem for the second ODI. Either play Lungi and Keshav according to conditions, and then Marco Jansen comes in for me for Wayne Parnell. Those are the only changes that I'll make. Okay, let's get your final thoughts. Let's start with Stuart and then end with Kelly. Thanks a lot, Neil Govender, for another super chat, brother. You are a king. Thanks a lot.
Look, with the Marco Jansen thing, either him or Wayne Parnell. Wayne Parnell was bowling quite well in the SA20, but I can see yesterday he wasn't getting a lot of movement. So actually, after thinking about it, after what you guys said, I do think Marco Jansen should come in. I'd like to see the batters be a bit more aggressive in the middle period because I feel like we're slowing down a little bit too much for my liking. But all in all, I think after yesterday's performance, I think the team can take a lot of confidence going into tomorrow. And I just hope that we read the conditions properly in the morning, as you're saying, and just make the correct decisions. And I thought Simba captained really well last night, and I'd like to see more of the same tomorrow. So hopefully we can get another W under the belt.
Final thoughts, Kelly?
Yeah, actually, I really do hope they keep the batting lineup the same. I'm worried about the chance, giving Janneman a chance in this situation on this pitch is ideal for him to actually make a score. And he's not the ideal player to take to the World Cup, which becomes, slightly misleading because even in the One Day Cup, he's been playing spin with very hard hands, very inconsistent. And he might well succeed here. And then on pitches that turn, he's not going to do well. And at some points, I think they probably will give him a chance. I just don't want it to be a misleading situation because he's probably one of the dodgier players of spin that we've got. So I want to keep that the same because I think it's our strongest lineup. But I'm worried about the temptation to test our players and then it being slightly misleading going forward. Because this is a very flat pitch and it's ideal for a guy to, sort of, make his mark and it's not going to be replicated elsewhere. So I do hope they keep it the same, but just change up the bowling attack a bit. Because I'm not really convinced with Reza in this format either. I know some people have mentioned him, but in the One Day Cup, he did make 100, but he's also inconsistent. I mean, Janneman made 100, also inconsistent. They're both in the squad, but they weren't the best batsmen in the One Day Cup. So I'm not entirely sure that they're quite up there for me in this format, and they're not doing well as a pair for JSK. They essentially, if they end up batting together, I don't know if it would work. It hasn't in the past. Haven't they actually been playing T20s together?
Yeah, I think they have.
And their partnership is not
bad. They're really struggling at JSK. Yeah.
So that's the point.
You would know Stuart. You would
I'm not a JSK fan, and they don't remain in the Janneman gets out very quickly, so sometimes I miss it. And Reese's made one score, and it wasn't very quick.
Janneman sorry.
Pardon?
No, I was just saying he hasn't really actually been playing from
before,
what I remember. Yeah. No, I was just saying this.
I think there's a risk that we'd end up having to play them as a pair in top order. I think it would be a disaster.
No.
In testing it out, I don't think they
Yeah.
gel.
You never know, hey?
Best person to battle.
You never know.
No, honest to God, the best person to battle Yanaman is Peter. Is he coming back?
It's very true. It's very
Yeah. They never play the different sides.
Yeah, they're very true.
So,
They
yeah.
even moved over to
Yanaman
Bola
always
together.
They do.
Yeah, they even
And
moved over to Bola together from the
Always
Cobras.
feels a
So
point. He never moves. They're an interesting pair.
So that's what we will do. What we prefer, but what I think will happen is I think they'll pick the same side. To be honest, I don't think they'll change the winning team. Even though there were a couple of flaws that put us in difficult positions, I don't think they'll change the team. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in, and also thank you, Neil Governor, for the 2 super chats that you donated today. It really helps the channel a lot, guys. So thank you so much for giving us the super chats, and also to the guys in the comment section. Thank you a lot for being very respectful in the comment section and keeping it a very good and a good debates going in the live chat. It was an excellent show today. I really enjoyed it. To the guys on the screen as well, not guys, but to the people on the screen today. We've got Kelly and we've got Stuart. Thanks a lot for coming on the show and giving your views as
I'm
well.
just a guy in a girl's body. Come on.
So thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please don't forget to click that notification bell for all future videos as well. It's very important that you do that because that's how you get notified when we go live for every single show or we upload press conferences or exclusive videos, etc. What I need you guys to also do is download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. This is the latest issue with Tristan Stubbs on the front cover. I think we kind of jinxed him because he hasn't really been the best for SEC since we put him on the cover, but he's going to come good, I hope, in the latter stages of this tournament. But please download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. And then what I would also like you guys to do is be pleased to support the channel. Please support South African cricket by becoming a patron today. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Kelly and Stuart, thanks a lot for coming on the show. To the viewers, thanks a lot for tuning in. And we'll see you guys tomorrow directly after the game for another review show. Take care, everybody. Peace out.